the set is probably because you cut off his fucking finger, and so he wasn't able to do that, and then to fucking turn that around as if it's somehow his own fucking what's the word for this, his own like bad behavior. It's crazy. Johnny's own kids were getting attacked on social media by rabid stans that were mad that his kids weren't defending him as much as they thought they should. This is what the internet does. And like also people are saying the bad stuff about him. Imagine how Johnny Depp felt after his career as a successful actor for over 40 years at the time, and he loses a fucking case that says with big white and black letters that he's a wife beater. It's like, imagine being called a wife beater in this day and age and thinking that you're going to have a career after that. It's awful. Okay, here we go.
Ms. Heard, you just testified that this case has been very hard for you. So let's talk about that and why.
All right.
Your lies have been exposed to the world multiple times, right?
True. Right?
I haven't lied about anything I've been here to say.
You sat here and told this jury that the events in Hicksville started with Mr. Depp getting really upset about a woman leaning on you. Is that correct?
Yes, that's effectively what happened, yeah.
You testified that he actually grabbed that woman's wrist and twisted it, right?
And told her that he could effectively break her wrist by saying he knew how many pounds of pressure, or asking her how many pounds of pressure it took to break a human wrist.
We remember.
But your own witness, your former best friend, Rocky Pennington, she didn't corroborate that, did she?
I'm not quite sure what part of that night she saw. There were a lot of people there.
She didn't see it.
She didn't testify that Mr. Depp
Nobody
grabbed
did.
anyone's wrist in Hicksville.
Again, I don't know what Rocky saw. There were a lot of people there that night.
I'm not sure,
You testified that once you brought Mr. Depp back to your trailer, he trashed it, correct?
That is correct.
And the manager of the Hicksville trailer park was furious that Johnny had wrecked the whole thing. Do you remember that testimony?
That's correct.
Well, we heard from that manager of the Hicksville trailer park, Morgan
did.
Knight, on Monday, didn't we?
I'm not quite sure who that guy was or if he had any involvement in this. I know a lot of people have come out of the woodwork to be involved.
Ah.
So you're accusing Mr. Knight of testifying and committing perjury?
I'm not accusing anyone. I just don't recognize that man.
Well, then why'd you add
Mr.
the
Knight
other
testify
part?
that it was actually you who was upset with Mr. Depp spending time away from him. Isn't that correct?
How would he know? He wasn't there.
You heard Mr.
How
Knight
did you
testify
know
that
he
it was
wasn't
actually
there?
you who was yelling at Mr. Depp.
Again, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things to be involved in the Johnny Depp show, but he wasn't there. He doesn't know. And he certainly doesn't know what happened behind closed doors, like most people.
So you're calling Mr. Knight a liar?
I am saying he wasn't there.
Calling him a truther.
And what he testified to doesn't match what I know happened.
What you
But
know
I don't
happened.
fault him. He wasn't there, so how would he know?
He testified he was there, Ms. Heard. Did you hear that?
That's his testimony, yes.
So you're calling him a liar.
I'm just
Say
saying
it.
he wasn't there.
Say it.
You heard Mr. Knight testify that the trailer wasn't trashed, and that's why you're calling him a liar.
He testified that a light fixture was broken,
That's
similar
true.
to the way that
Yes, other
Johnny's
than a light
employees
fixture. That was
testified
the
to
only
my
thing that was
closet
broken,
being
right? Ms.
rearranged
Heard?
and things
Ms.
like
Heard?
that.
The only thing that was broken in the trailer, according to Mr. Knight, was a light fixture. Yes or no?
I realized that he summed it up by saying a light fixture
I thought
was
you said
broken,
you weren't
just the
paying
way his
attention to
security
what he
guard
said.
Summed up him trashing my closet as being rearranged.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to
You didn't even
strike
know what he-
everything
who he
after
was.
He summed it up that it was a light fixture as non-responsive.
She answered the question, Your Honor.
Overruled.
In the security guard testimony, Your Honor?
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Mr. Knight also testified that he charged Mr. Depp only $62 for the damaged light fixture. You heard that, correct?
I did.
Uh-huh.
In Hicksville, you were the only one that was jealous that Mr. Depp was spending time from other people. Isn't that correct, Ms. Heard?
That isn't correct.
In Hicksville, you were the one who was upset that Mr. Depp wasn't giving you enough attention.
Incorrect again.
Ms. Heard, you told this jury that you had no idea the press was going to be at the courthouse when you got your TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I said I did not have anything to do with it. Yes.
No. My question again. You told this jury that you had no idea that the press was going to be outside after you got the ex-party TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I apologize. I must have misunderstood Ms. Vasquez.
Of course.
I actually had no idea whether they were going to be there or not. When I walked into the courtroom that day, it was completely quiet, still, empty. Even though I had given Johnny's team notice that
Why
I was
is she
filing
ongoing?
TRO,
Your Honor, this is not
we had
responsive.
no reason to
Move
believe
to
that the
strike.
press knew.
And Your Honor, I would also ask that you instruct the witness to please stop talking once I lodge an objection.
Your Honor, she's trying to answer the question as best she can, and Ms. Vasquez is misrepresenting to her what she testified to.
It's a very
I'll strike
simple
the last
question.
part is non-responsive. Just if
Did
just
you know
answer
they
the
were going to be
question
there or
asked.
not?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Heard.
In fact, you testified that you were, quote, shocked when you saw press when you were leaving the courthouse. Yes?
Yes.
You weren't
But
shocked at all, though, were you?
Incorrect. It was
You knew the press
horrifying.
would be at the courthouse, right, Ms. Heard?
No.
Well, you did bring your publicist to the courthouse with you on May 27th, 2016, didn't you?
I sure did. I'm a public figure. I brought my publicist in case it blew up. In case. And
You
I'm
actually
glad
had
I did.
alerted TMZ that you would be filing a TRO against Mr. Depp that very
No,
day,
I
look at
didn't
Ben
you?
nodding.
No, I did
The
not.
one day you didn't bother to wear makeup to cover up the mark on your face.
I did not call TMZ or any other news source or paparazzi
But
source.
you know who
No
did,
one.
and you
I
let it
never
happen.
did that.
Testimony from former TMZ employee Morgan Tremaine yesterday, correct?
Did I hear his testimony?
Yes.
Yes, I was here.
Yeah. And you heard Mr. Tremaine's testimony that he knew to dispatch the paparazzi to the courthouse on May 27th,
Because you would turn and show
right?
your cheek.
I heard him say that he knew that, yes.
Yeah, and that he dispatched paparazzi to the courthouse to capture a picture of an alleged bruise on the right side of your face. Do you remember him saying that?
I remember him saying that.
Oh, man.
That information must have come from your team, right, Ms. Heard?
Absolutely not. Why would I want that? What actual survivor of domestic violence wants that?
No, they don't.
Now, the video of Mr.
They-
Depp
they
beating
wouldn't.
up some kitchen
That's the
cabinets,
whole
you
point.
admit that you took that video, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you acknowledge that the video was released online the day before you were deposed in connection with your divorce from Mr. Depp in August of 2016,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I believe it was, yes.
But you testified that you had absolutely nothing to do with the video's release, right?
Absolutely not.
And you testified that you learned about it when you landed after flying into LA. Do you remember that testimony?
Upon touchdown is when I was alerted to the video's
You
existence
heard Mr.
online.
Tremaine testify about this video as well yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
There's
You
only
heard
one
Mr.
more day of
Tremaine
this, I
testify
think,
that
right?
TMZ received the cabinet video the same day you landed at LAX. Yes?
I don't know if that I don't know if that's what his testimony was. I'm sorry.
You heard Mr. Tremaine testify that the cabinet video was posted 15 minutes
After it was received.
TMZ received it.
Yep.
Yes?
That's what I heard him say.
And that this could only have been possible if the video was received directly from the source. Yes?
I heard him say that. I don't know if that's true or if that's possible.
So you're calling
Because it
him
didn't
lying?
come from me. I was
Mr.
flying.
Tremaine
Is he
So
lying
that-
too?
I know that's incorrect, is what I mean to say.
another liar on the stand.
I just know that that's incorrect.
Right. And you heard Mr.
Everybody's
Tremaine testify
lying.
that TMZ owns the copyright to the cabinet video, right?
That's news to me.
The cabinet video you filmed of your then husband. Yes?
The copyright ownership of that is news to me. I learned that
The
yesterday.
copyright is
It's the
generated
cabinet
upon
video
inception.
that you captured of your then
So it
husband.
would be your
Yes?
copy.
That is
Copyright.
correct. I did capture that video, and
The
yes,
cabinet
that was
video,
my husband.
the same cabinet video that was released the night before you were deposed in your divorce. Yes?
That's correct.
You must have also heard Mr. Tremaine testify that the version of the cabinet video that TMZ received was incomplete compared to the video the jury saw in this trial. Did you hear that?
Yes.
The video that the jury that
No
you have seen
way.
is complete.
Right. But the one TMZ
Yes,
got the day
baby.
before your deposition in the divorce
Nice.
was incomplete.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
He
You
testified
recorded
that the
it.
beginning portion of the video where you set up the camera, that wasn't included in the video that TMZ received.
I don't know what video
That's awesome.
TMZ
I'm talking
received.
about Mr. Tremaine's testimony, Ms. Heard. Let's just
So you're
focus on
asking me to
Mr.
repeat
Tremaine.
his testimony?
No, I'm asking you if you recall hearing him say those words to this jury.
Yes,
Under
I
oath.
heard his testimony. We all did.
And he testified that the end of the video where you can be seen smirking. I know you testified earlier that you haven't been smirking in this trial, but you sure were caught on camera smirking in that video.
I disagree with that.
Was also not included in the TMZ video.
Everyone can watch that video and you can determine whether you think it's funny to me or not.
They did.
That's because the video came
That's why
from
they're
you,
attacking
right,
you on
Ms. Heard?
social media.
No, it did not.
You
That
edited
video
out
did
the
not
portions.
come to me. I
Ms.
mean,
Heard,
come from me.
Ms. Heard, you edited out the portions that made you look bad before sending it to TMZ.
Thanks for the 50
You're
cents.
very wrong about that.
Thank you so much.
So
If
that
I
only
wanted to
Mr.
leak
Depp
information, I
looked
could have
bad.
done it in a more effective way, a lot sooner and a lot more.
Because you
I
knew
was
exactly
living
how to
with
do
a
that,
mountain
right?
of this evidence. If I wanted to leak it, I could have done a lot more with it.
A mountain. It's more
But
like
you
a
testified
molehill.
earlier in this trial that you didn't know how to leak things.
I
Remember
don't.
that?
So then,
Oh,
You
but
edited
then how would you
everything.
know that you
Well,
could do it
gave
better
to
then?
TMZ so that only Mr. Depp would look bad. Yes?
That's absurd.
Right in the middle of your divorce proceedings.
Again, you're very wrong.
man,
I'd like to show you
She
a
just contradicted
picture
herself?
that's already admitted into
Yep.
evidence. It's Defendant's Exhibit 799.
This chick is bad.
you're just cooking her holy shit. Yeah.
This is you
Once
at the
again,
courthouse
thank you
on
so
May
much.
27th, 2016, when you got your domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
It is.
And next to you is a woman named Jody Gottlieb, right?
Yes,
That's her
yes.
publicist.
Jody Gottlieb is your publicist.
And dear friend.
Now I'd like to show you what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1316. This is a picture of you and your friend Rocky Pennington, right?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I'd like to move to admit this photograph.
Okay, let's see.
Any
it.
objection to
So it
13?
is 25 good subs. Thank you guys for all the gifteds. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
No, Your Honor.
All right, 1316 in evidence. You can publish to the jury.
This is a picture of you on May 28th, 2016, right, Ms. Heard?
I don't know when this was taken.
This is the day after you obtained the domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
I have no idea when this image was taken. I did not take it.
There's no bruise on your face in this picture, is there?
Again, I don't know when this was taken, and also I'm outside. I was obviously wearing makeup. I have no idea when this was taken, so I have no idea if I can
Let's
speak to
refresh your
what
recollection.
bruise you can
Let's
see or
refresh your recollection about when this picture was taken.
Good
can
idea.
You please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1315, just for the witness.
Yeah, let's see it. Enjoy. Thanks for Fox. Thank you.
This is an article dated May 30th, 2016, right, Ms. Heard?
not. That's what it says, yes.
And this article contains the same photograph of you and Miss Pennington we were just looking at. Yes?
God damn, no makeup.
Yes, I see that.
It didn't
And
look
the
like she had a
article
lot
is
on.
entitled Amber Heard Smiles as She Puts Arm Around Friend One Day After Getting Restraining Order Against Johnny Depp.
Man,
Is that what the title says?
look at that.
I know that's what the title says, yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit and publish the
All right,
article
yep,
with
there it
everything
is.
but the headline and date.
They
and
were
photo
expecting her
redacted.
to say it was a lie, and so they got the article ahead of time,
Objection, Your Honor.
predicting
That's
this to happen.
inconsistent from the way you treated all of these.
I'll sustain the objection. All right, next question.
Let's take a look at picture Plaintiff's Exhibit 1317.
Okay.
This is also a picture of you and Miss Pennington on May 28th, 2016, isn't it?
I don't know when this photo was taken, but it looks like the same outing as the picture prior.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit and publish Plaintiff's Exhibit 1317.
Any objection?
No, Your
All
Honor.
right, 1317 in evidence. You can
Let's see it. I want to see it. Let's get it. I want to
There's
get
no
it.
bruise on your face in this picture either, right?
We saw this one.
I disagree. If it is taken when you represent it was taken, then obviously there's a bruise on my face. It's covered by makeup, as per usual.
Let's zoom out of that picture for a moment, please. Thanks. That's Josh Drew in this picture, right?
Yes,
That's the guy.
And Miss Pennington
that is correct.
in there too?
That
Ms.
is correct.
Pennington submitted a sworn statement on your behalf in support of your domestic violence restraining order, didn't she?
Yeah.
I believe she did, yes.
She did.
Mr. Drew also submitted a statement in support of your domestic violence restraining order.
I believe they both did, yes.
They did.
Ms. Heard, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 512, which is already in evidence.
Okay, let's see it. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Makeup?
You've
Yeah.
seen this photograph before, right?
I have.
On the second day of your direct testimony,
Uh-huh.
you testified that this was taken in the downstairs of the main apartment on December 15th, 2015. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, I believe so.
So it's your testimony that Defendant's Exhibit 512 reflects damage to Penthouse 5 that occurred during the December 15th, 2015 incident. Yes?
I'm not quite sure from what incident this is when I see this photo in a vacuum without context.
How do people not have
She
jobs?
suddenly
context.
forgot everything.
Can we please
Bro, she's forgetting
have day
everything
16
now.
trial testimony?
Bro, I don't remember, like, oh man. I don't know, dude.
We approach.
All right.
Oh, dude, I have no idea. Like, she had makeup on. Like, did it look like she had makeup on? I'm gonna be honest. Like, I can kind of tell whenever a girl is and is not wearing makeup. But like, I'm not really an expert on this kind of shit. I never really have worn makeup before. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So it certainly looked like she
Could you
didn't
please
have
turn
makeup on.
first to page
looked like that.
4585?
Okay. Here we go. Let's see it. Forget everything. Blame everyone. Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah.
One second.
So you're an expert? Well, according to Amber Heard's team, yeah. Yeah, of course. I'm an expert in makeup.
Specifically on starting on line 16, where it says, let's talk about December 15th, 2015.
You said 4585. I'm on 4485. Sorry, you said 4584.
4585.
Pardon.
Line 16.
Okay.
He's like, I know what I said. Thank you.
Was the badge you want to make up? There's also swelling. And you can see on the angle of her face, you would have seen probably like some sort of like a what's the word for it? Like a...
Line 16, where it says, let's talk about December 15th, 2015. You see that?
Yes.
And then do you see that your testimony about December 15th, 2015 follows?
Let's see. It's just the first line or two.
Okay.
Perfect F blood fist. That's funny.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'd like you to turn to page 4603.
Stalling? Smart. Trying to buy time?
Starting
I
at
would
line
too.
12.
This is a bad time for her.
4603. Starting at line 12 and going on to page 4604, line 4.
Okay.
And do you see that you testify that Defendant's Exhibit 512, which is on the screen,
Yes.
is a picture of the downstairs of the main apartment?
That's correct.
And the main apartment is Penthouse 5 in the Eastern Columbia building, right?
No, well, depends on the main apartment's penthouse 3 generally when we say main apartment.
Penthouse 5 was where you had your closet?
The downstairs was kind of like had some of my painting studio set up and a reception area. Upstairs was the closet.
Got it.
Mezzanine office was in between.
All right, so it's your testimony that Defendant's Exhibit 512 reflects damage to the penthouse, Penthouse 5, that occurred during the December 15th, 2015 incident, right?
I'm just not sure from which incident this is a picture of, since I'm only looking at
Even
a
though your
partial
counsel
floor.
was asking you questions about December 15th, 2015,
Why is she
and then
pretending like
admitted
she
this
doesn't-
this picture into evidence
Again,
in
in my
relation to that incident.
Sorry, go ahead.
In relation to that incident on December 15th, 2015. This exhibit, Defendant's Exhibit, you are the defendant, number 512, was admitted into evidence in this court. You testified that this was the result of damage that occurred on December 15th, 2015. Yes or no?
She's mad.
I just need to orient myself because I'm just looking at a picture of a partial
No,
picture of a
Ms. Heard,
floor,
you didn't just
so
look
I
at a
can't.
picture. You looked at your testimony.
You pointed me towards the page and then asked me a question. I haven't actually reviewed it. I don't know if this was
She's
submitted
getting fucking
in
roasted.
relation to
Holy
that
shit.
incident.
Let's actually leave up Defendant's 512 and please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 725,
God damn.
which
Let's
is
see.
already in evidence
Let's see. Let's see.
in redacted form, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You can publish.
Just side by side. You've seen this photograph as well, right?
I have.
On the third day of your direct testimony, you testified
Unbelievable.
that this photograph reflected spilled wine in Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016, didn't you?
Again,
What?
I don't know because I'm looking at a partial picture of a floor. So unless you remove the metadata you covered up, we could then tell. If you
I didn't
remove-
cover it up, Your Honor.
Could we unredact
Your Honor,
them so we could get context?
That's how it's in evidence.
That's how it's in evidence.
Next
Well,
question.
the metadata next to it is so that.
Ms. Heard,
to avoid this
Ms.
sort of
Heard,
thing.
there is no question pending, and I would appreciate it if you wouldn't be making argument to the jury.
Sorry, I
It's
thought you would
inappropriate.
ask me about it.
No, I didn't ask you about anything. Let's look at your direct testimony from the
Oh
third day.
shit. Yeah, ask you about anything. Yeah. Now she's the expert on metadata. And people said she didn't change it? Huh. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh man, she's handing out binders, study guides. Oh my god.
Thank you.
That's brutal, man. So laughing to your sister's face. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, that's not good.
I'll say that for
Let's
sure.
like,
It's
sorry,
bad.
we didn't-
page 4750.
I'm kind of making all this stuff up, so if I don't have notes,
Sorry, can you repeat that?
4750.
I don't know what to say about each picture.
Oh my god. This is just, bro, like, she's
What are my
going
lines?
in. Yeah, she knows
Lines?
how to leak things way better. She would have been way more efficient, but she doesn't know how to leak anything. Yeah, she would have been able to do it way better. but
Specifically line 16.
isn't that delusions of grandeur?
Do you see where Ms. Bredehoff asked you to describe for the jury what took place on May 21st, 2016?
I see that.
And do you see that your testimony is reflected about May 21, 2015?
Yes.
That follows? Okay.
Yes.
Now let's turn to page 4804. At line 14. 4804. Starting at line 14
Yes.
through 4805, line 4.
Going to what line?
Line 4 at 4805.
Oh, it's 2 lines, though, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be?
Do you see that you're testifying that Defendant's Exhibit 725, which is reflected on the right side, reflects spilled wine on the floor in Penthouse 5?
That's correct.
Okay. And Defendant's Exhibit 512 and 725 seem to be different versions of the same picture, don't they?
That's correct.
Okay. So which is it? Which one was taken on December 15th, 2015, or May 21st, 2016?
If you remove the redacted metadata, you can find out. It's right there.
Or if you're telling the truth, you would know.
Recognize a portion of of spilled wine on a floor, and I'm supposed to know off the top of my head when you've
No.
lived through 5 years of this stuff? I don't think so. That's not how that works.
Now
Tom.
she's getting her mad.
Just
Now,
heard at the beginning of
okay.
your cross-examination
Your
last
Honor, may
week.
we approach?
Yes.
Oh no! See, they could tell that she was getting pressed. Like they're just trying to play for time so she can calm down. It's gonna come out, yeah. Like Camille was about to exorcise the demons out of Amber, and so you know, the lawyer team was like, "Oh my God, she's about to fucking explode. This is gonna make us look bad." What the hell is the metadata? Same picture? Well, yeah, it's the same picture. It's the same thing. Like it's like she wants to know. It's like, you know, what's the answer on the test? Oh, I don't know. What does it say on the paper? You know, like what? How do you like? That doesn't even make sense. Almost charged from? Yeah, she doesn't remember any of this stuff. It's just crazy. Can't handle the truth. It's a cropped image. Well, I think it's very obvious that she just used the same image twice. And this is what I said before, right? About her making extra evidence. And this is what happened with the pictures of her face that were so obviously proven to be false. And
Ladies
that's
and
it.
gentlemen in the gallery, I would ask that there be no words or no phrases, no words, no sounds at all coming from you. If I hear one more sound, I will clear the gallery and we will continue this testimony without anybody in the courtroom. Understood?
I never heard
Good.
any of that.
All right, your next question.
Okay.
Ms. Heard, at the beginning of your cross-examination last week, I showed you an audio where you told Mr. Depp to tell the jury,
That's what they get.
tell the judge, tell the world that he is a victim of domestic abuse. Do you remember that?
That's correct.
And you testified you
palms.
found it hard to believe that Mr. Depp would tell the world that he's a victim of domestic abuse, didn't you?
I said I find it hard to believe that he would do that knowing that he himself had beat me up for 5 years.
But he has told the world that he's your victim of domestic abuse, hasn't he?
Well, he started to say that only recently. He didn't make that claim up until very recently. So when we signed our divorce agreement and we signed a statement saying that neither party had ever said false claims for financial gain, it was relevant and important to me because I was the only one making the accusations. I was the only one making those claims. He wasn't doing that at the time, and he signed his name to it.
You didn't expect as many people to show up and testify on his behalf that did you?
That
Incorrect.
When you told this jury under oath that you never assaulted, actually, let's drop that. When you told this jury under oath that you punched Mr. Depp because you thought of Mr. Depp pushing Kate Moss down the stairs, you didn't expect Ms. Moss to agree to testify that never happened, did you?
Incorrect. I know how many people will come out of the woodwork to be in support of Johnny.
Then
So
why'd
you
you
think
say
Ms.
it?
Moss needs to come out of the woodwork to testify for Mr. Depp?
Then why'd you
Everybody
say it
who
if you
was
thought
around
this?
in the 90s and the early aughts knew that rumor. I had heard that rumor from multiple people. Of course, that's what flashed through my head when my violent husband not only swung for me, but all of a sudden swung for my sister. Of course I thought of that. I did not expect her to show up or not expect her to show up. It didn't matter. It doesn't change what I believed at
I
the
could
time
watch this
when we
all
were
the
on the
time.
stairs, and I thought he was going to kill my sister by pushing her down the stairs.
Who's gonna
You
kill
told
her
this jury
sister?
under oath that Mr. Depp was aggressive and trashed a trailer in Hicksville. You didn't expect the manager of the Hicksville property, Morgan Knight, to come forward and testify that was untrue, did you?
She's gonna
Incorrect. I've already been through trials with this man. I know how many people will come out in support of him.
When you told this jury under oath that you had no idea that the paparazzi would be at the courthouse on May 27th, 2016, you
guy
didn't
a
expect a
fucking bot?
TMZ employee to show up to testify that TMZ had been alerted that you would be at the courthouse and knew exactly which side of your face to take a picture of, did you?
I know how many people will come out and say whatever for him. That's his power. That's why I wrote the op-ed. I was speaking to that phenomenon. How many people will come out in support
Kate
of him
Moss
and will fall to his power?
protects domestic
He is a very
abusers.
powerful man, and people love currying favor with powerful men.
Currying
and I know
favor
that
and
firsthand.
risking
Just like Harvey
jail time
Weinstein.
for committing perjury?
Excuse me.
Yeah, just like Harvey Weinstein, right?
I didn't hear your
You
question.
didn't hear
Excuse
my
me.
question?
Kevin Spacey.
Ms. Vasquez, if you do mind,
Curry-
please just repeat the question. I didn't hear you.
Curry favor and commit perjury in this courtroom?
I have
For a
seen people
powerful
do this.
man?
I have seen people do this time and time again. That's why I wrote the op-ed.
You didn't expect Ben King, the house manager in Australia, to show up from England. He flew from England to testify that Mr. Depp's fingertip was found exactly where he said it would be. Did you?
I have never heard Johnny testify to knowing where his finger was, or really, frankly, making a claim that he knew where it was when it was found. I've never heard Johnny claim that.
You didn't expect
Johnny
Keenan
doesn't-
Wyatt.
Johnny has never
Ms.
actually
Heard.
said that.
Ms. Heard.
Uh-huh.
And
Settle
I think the
down.
jury can-
Yes.
Ms. Heard, there's no question.
Settle down.
You didn't expect Keenan Wyatt, Mr. Depp's longtime sound technician, to show up and testify that Mr. Depp is not being fed lines through his earpieces, but instead music, did you?
Not that it matters much, but of course I did. I know how his employees treat him.
So you
I know how
probably-
his team treats him. Of course I expected
Then
that.
why did
Okay,
you
so
come
you
up
probably
here?
expected Isaac Baruch to come and testify for Mr. Depp, right?
Yeah, I would have expected that. Anybody
I'm
would
not
have.
sure I thought about that.
Yeah. But you didn't expect Mr. Baruch to weep for Mr. Depp after what you've put him through and so many others with your lives.
I
did you?
relate to Isaac because he and I are
There's
the
no
only
further
ones who
questions, Your
cried
Honor.
on this stand.
Nothing further.
All right. Redirect.
Man. Yeah, I remember Isaac. I liked Isaac. He was great.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Heard, if Mr. Baruch felt misled, who misled him?
Johnny, and I don't blame him. I
Man.
don't blame him from crying. This is horrible.
Ms. Vasquez has suggested that you faked bruises on your face.
Yes.
Is that true?
Absolutely not. I
That's-
didn't need to.
Not
Did you ever
100% true.
fake an injury caused by Mr. Depp?
No.
Is any of the evidence of your injuries that has been put to the jury in this trial fake?
No, absolutely not.
And to the extent that there may be some confusion over when a picture of spilled wine was taken, why might that be?
Objection.
Because there's so
Lack of
many-
foundation.
Fake an injury caused
Because
Mr.
there's
Depp.
so many incidents of violence. There's so many pictures. There's so much evidence. Most people don't have this kind of evidence for years, 5 years. And when I was saying that
This
to
guy that I
Johnny
just traded
on the
with
phone in that recording, I was saying for
finally
years
found
this has
some
been going on. And I have
runes
pictures, we have
inside
texts, we have
the using
everything.
the bot.
Normally you don't get this amount of evidence. That's what I was pointing out to Johnny. It would be crazy to try to challenge this
It
in
is
this
what
way.
it is.
It's crazy. It's easy to not know the context of a picture of spilled wine because there are so many more important details, pictures, and also so much I didn't photograph, so much I didn't
We
have
know
the
that.
presence of
Objection
mind
non-responsive.
document.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did Mr.
Yeah.
Depp abuse you physically?
Yes.
Verbally?
Yes.
Emotionally?
Yes.
Psychologically?
Oh my
Yes.
so fake.
How did the threats that Mr. Depp made against you individually years ago resemble what you've endured as a result of the Depp-Waldman statements?
Beyond the scope of cross, Your Honor.
She can't identify what it is specifically from the
Johnny
Depp-Waldman statement.
promised me he would ruin me. That he'd ruin my career, he'd take my life from me. Death was the only way out. And if I got out, this is what he'd do to me. He'd make me think of him every single day. He promised me global humiliation. You saw those texts? What he couldn't do,
Followed through.
One individual, meaning Johnny, when he was
He
inviting
did.
a disgruntled employee over for a spot of purple
God, that's
to
so
fix
bad.
my flabby ass up. That revenge that he sought back then was just what he could do as an individual, calling the studio to get me fired, trying to block
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation, speculation, hearsay,
all
non-responsive.
I'll sustain as to non-response.
Ms. Hurd, how did those things that you just testified to that Mr. Depp did, how did those resemble what happened to you after the Depp-Waldman counterclaim statements were made?
He's trying to contextualize it so they can win the
Those are-
defamation case.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of
But
foundation.
there's no difference that she can make off of that.
Overruled.
Thank you.
People are
Thank
hating
you,
on
Your
her
Honor.
before and after.
Those are just an echo of what I'm living through today. It's like what I'm living in right now. What you see in this courtroom is an echo. This courtroom and the other courtroom he dragged me into to do the same thing
He
again.
dragged me into.
That's just an echo of the violence and the abuse that I suffered within our relationship. The campaigns to have me fired, the blocking me to try to ruin my career, the threats he's made to
750,
humiliate me globally are being lived out in real time in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, for the past 6 weeks and for the whole world since our camera's here.
No further questions. Thank you so much, Amber.
All right, Ms. Hurd, you can have a
No,
seat.
750 is exactly
Oh my
the worst,
God,
right?
she was upset. She made the
Anti-perfect.
She did. Yeah, of course she did. Why wouldn't she? Wonder how this all started. I love how, like, she's turning this into, like, basically, and this is the same thing the entertainment individual, the woman that the anti-wizard was, like, obviously fucking flirting with, like, while she was on the stand. That's what she said too, is that Johnny Depp is at fault because he has the audacity to defend himself from these accusations. This man could possibly be so brazen, so evil, so judgmental and fucking maniacal that he would defend himself from accusations. Oh my God, Ben staring down Amber? Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, she's gonna go, you've got to understand, is that Amber Heard, I mean, this case is paying way more money than Aquaman, so it makes sense that she's acting better. But the fact is that I don't believe this shit. I don't. I don't fucking believe it. I think that she's full of shit because there's multiple bits of evidence that are fake. Multiple bits of evidence are fake. Yeah, of course, it's fake acting. How could you? That's right. I know people get mad. I see this all the time on Twitter. They're angry at me because I'll say something mean and don't care. I'm gonna keep doing it. Doesn't matter. And so anyway, yeah, I think she's full of shit. Well, not anymore because she, was on Johnny's bed. But, I think, yeah, I think that's it. I think that she's making it up. I think she's lying. I think that there are instances maybe where Johnny was mean to her. Now, why would that happen? I don't really know. Was she the instigator of that? Was she being rude to him and then that was with him? And then her having the audacity to tell them that she, that she was the one that couldn't get away from him. Meanwhile, Johnny Depp, there's plenty of record evidence that was recorded privately that he just wanted to have some peace away from her.
Your Honor, the counterclaimant Amber Heard rests.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard all the evidence you're going to hear in this matter. What I propose doing is to go ahead and give you the rest of the afternoon off so you can have a good restful afternoon and evening, and we will do closing arguments tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., and then the case will be submitted to you for deliberations. Just to give you a little logistics of how that will go, tomorrow I won't give you a time limit as far as how long you can deliberate in the afternoon into the evening. I will tell you, within reason, I will tell you I do not serve dinner, so keep that in mind, okay?
Okay.
You will not be deliberating on Saturday or Sunday or
myself.
Monday, because Monday is a holiday. I would like you to have you back here Tuesday morning, at least by 9 o'clock. If you want to come earlier, that's up to you. You can decide as a group if you want to come earlier than 9 o'clock, but you have to be here at least by 9 o'clock to resume your deliberations again. And again on Tuesday night, and if you have to go to Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, she said you have to go to
The
Wendy's.
time that when you take your breaks is up to you, as long as you take them together, as far as not having any deliberations unless all of the jurors are in the room at the same time. When you take your lunch is up to you. And then again in the evening, within reason, I'll let you go as long as you'd like to go, okay? So have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, okay? Do not discuss the case with anybody. Don't do any outside research.
Tomorrow fucking morning. Oh my god. It's like, what is this here? Let me see what's gonna happen now. What's she gonna say now? They came back 10 minutes. Amber guilt. Yeah, imagine like, yeah, she's guilty of everything, and she's wrong. We don't have to be here tomorrow. I don't want to have to wake up early. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. All right. Yep.
We'll
see
go
you guys
ahead
later.
and take a modified lunch recess just till 12:50. We'll come back at 12:50. We just have a few jury instructions left we have to do. Make sure we get the verdict form taken care of.
Okay.
I want you to review the laptop that we have mocked up and make sure everybody agrees what's on it. And also I want you to look through all your exhibits and make sure we're all on the same page. Before you leave, I'll make sure you have copies of the jury instructions in the order that I'm going to read them, and you should be able to prepare for your closing arguments for tomorrow, okay? All right, we'll see you at 12:50 then.
Okay, all right. We'll wait to see what they're gonna say after the after that. I'm actually really curious about this. Can Johnny use the 5 hours still? I am honestly not sure. Like, I'm gonna be totally real. I am not sure. I don't know what's gonna happen. I think we're just gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna give it like an hour. We're gonna go through the lunch break. We're gonna go from there. And I think that's it. And let's see here. Chat jury simulator. Yeah, everybody thinks Amber's guilty. I know that. It's not a surprise at all. And what's this here? Prep for tomorrow's closing arguments. I'm worth watching. Well, I think we'll wait just to see what it's going to be, okay? They want to enjoy. Tell people they were jurors for Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, sure. It's over. Both team rests their cases. Holy shit. So tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow's the big day where we find out who's getting fucked. Oh my god. Like, I'm actually so excited for that. I wonder what that's gonna be. Yeah, I really do. I wonder what that's gonna fucking be. Bro, without the jury waves at Johnny, Amber has 0 chance. Interesting they rest their case with so much time left. It is very interesting. I wasn't sure that was gonna happen. That is crazy, man. We don't find out tomorrow? Wait, so tomorrow's closing arguments won't have verdict until next week, probably. Oh, I misunderstood. Okay, all right, that sounds good. It's going to be on Tuesday. All right, that's fine with me, too. Yeah, sure, it's okay. When's the Epstein trial when we need it? Well, they took care of that before it happened. Yeah, that wasn't an issue. And I think that this is I think this is a pretty good... this is the first one of these court cases that I've really followed the whole way through, right? Like, going through this whole thing and talking about it. This is the first time I've really followed one of these all the way through. And I'll be honest, I think that it's quite interesting. What I found to be most interesting is how deliberately disingenuous it is. Like how just misleading, deliberately disingenuous, how many obvious lies are put up there, and people are just fucking being misled, the jury's being misled, everything like that, like the Depp Waldman statements. Like, it's just such horse shit, man. Could be next Tuesday or Friday. Yeah, I'm not sure. Did you watch the OJ trial? No, I was too young for that. I didn't see that at all. But I think that this has been pretty fucking crazy. I wonder, like, what do you guys think is going to happen? Like, not like what do you want to happen, but like what do you guys think is going to happen? Because they both have defamation cases against each other, and on top of that, you know, is one of them going to be guilty? I think both lose. I think that is probably the most. I think that like in tiers of likely outcomes. Highest tier is they both lose. Second highest tier is Johnny wins. And then the tier below that is Amber wins. I think that Amber winning the defamation case is probably the least likely to occur. Closing arguments are vital? Yeah, I think so. I'll be curious to see what they say after all of this, because I really don't know. I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know what they're going to be talking about at all. Let me see here, and I'll read some more stuff as well.
Might as well
Johnny
do the
wins
King
about
quest, 'cause
too
why not?
hard to prove defamation. No, yeah, I think they should change that for sure. Johnny literally lost jobs because of her. She didn't lose anything. Well, she did lose a lot of things, but the things that she lost were not an outcome of Johnny's words and Johnny saying that. Amber will win this one legally. Johnny has to sprint up a 7-mile mountain. It is hard to prove defamation. That's what my understanding is, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me go back over it. I'll read a few more of these. Johnny wins, true ending. Yeah. His life is forever more changed for the worse. Yeah. Johnny's life is definitely fucked. His finger is fucked. His reputation is fucked. There will always be people that think that he did something wrong. That's fundamentally what it is. And if this never happened, his career would be in a better spot than it is now. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Is that, yes, obviously he won in the court of public opinion. I think most people are on his side. But the truth is that everybody would have been on his side if it wasn't for this situation, because it wouldn't have happened. So there would have never been a side to be on in the first place.
This monastery reeks with evil and corruption.
Ah, very good.
I can hardly.
God, he's so weak.
of here.
You have
Trash. Alright.
The exact moment Amber Heard lost the case versus Johnny Depp. Fans have been constantly pointing out many vast inconsistencies as they pore over the information that's been presented in court, especially that coming from Amber Heard, and it's very clear to any spectator of the case that Amber has messed up big time during her testimony, and that too on several occasions, which may hand Johnny Depp and his team victory over her in the trial. But what exactly are those mistakes? Keep watching and let's find out. How's it gone down so far? Heard and Depp have narrated a very disturbing picture of their brief yet chaotic marriage to the whole world. Testimony on both sides has been painful and draining. Heard's attorneys really dug into Depp for hours on his alleged substance abuse, while his witnesses made suspicious claims about Heard's histrionic personality disorder. Her team has revealed pictures of her bruised face, busted lip, and torn off hair on the couple's bedroom floor. Depp has confessed to drawing threatening messages on their walls in his own blood, whereas in the text messages we see him apologizing for spraying rage at her during one of his blackouts, as well as saying he hoped Heard's rotting corpse was decomposing in the bleeping trunk of a Honda Civic. He has since expressed remorse at having sent those texts, but the damage is done, and even though most of the evidence is on his side, this does look really bad. Video proof. Among the most obvious proof in Depp's favor is the affairs Amber had with two big celebs. The actor's defense made the jury view elevator footage of the actress having late-night meetings with Elon Musk and James Franco, and that too in Depp's own penthouse. It was expected that both celebrities will go and testify on the trial, but they've been no-shows. In Depp's favor, both of these guys were proved to be having their affairs with Heard right when the actor was married to her. To further the evidence, there are moments in the elevator clips where Amber doesn't have clothes on and she is only wearing a blanket. She displays physical affection to Musk and also Franco, but more mildly. This new evidence proves that Heard was not faithful to Depp, and most of her accusations could be rendered useless as a result. To make matters worse, there are even more incriminating accusations from Depp that we are now just hearing of. The video of Heard with Musk and Franco is yet another proof that perhaps many of her other statements aren't true either, and they have also been proven so. Let's take a look at the rest of her claims that didn't hold up. The testimony from Heard's ex-nurse. Amber's former nurse, Erin Falatai, was also called to testify in court. Falatai was asked about text messages she had gotten from Heard, showing bruises that the actress had on her face. When asked to voice her thoughts, Falatai did warn us that she's not exactly an expert, but she had no idea what the color on Amber's face was. Falatai was also asked if Heard had ever expressed any sort of fear of Depp to her, which she said she couldn't remember. She did, though, recall a time when Heard's sister mentioned that the actress was suicidal.
Ooh, okay.
A slip-up that could cost Heard $50 million. The moment Heard knew she'd really lost was when she literally opened the way for Depp to win the defamation case through a careless remark. On day 2 of her testimony, Heard talked about an altercation with Depp where he was allegedly being physically abusive with her, and at one point she made a reference to Kate Moss, who is Depp's former girlfriend. Heard claimed that during the altercation she hit Depp to save her sister Whitney because Johnny was allegedly trying to push her down the stairs. The reason she mentioned Kate Moss is because of an old rumor that Depp once pushed Moss down the stairs back when they were a couple. It's apparent in the moment when Amber mentioned Kate's name, not only Johnny, but his entire team couldn't believe it. You could see the smiles on their faces they were trying to hide, because she'd really messed up and it just made their jobs much, much easier. How this works out for Depp. The reason why this is probably going to be a big deal for Depp and could help his victory in the case is because he can now invite Kate as a rebuttal witness. As the name suggests, a rebuttal witness is a witness who's called to rebut or refute an already given testimony, and the reason we know Kate would refute Amber's testimony is because there's never been any proof whatsoever of Depp pushing Kate or hurting her in any way. Contrary to Amber's testimony, even when the two split up, Kate, much like the rest of Johnny's exes, always had nothing but generally nice things to tell people about him, and she never once accused him of being physically aggressive or abusive in any way. In fact, Kate claimed that nobody ever took care of her the way Johnny did while they were together. In her 2012 interview with Vanity Fair, Kate said that there's nobody who was ever really able to care for her the way Depp did. To make things clearer, Kate even explained that Johnny helped her manage her fame and gave her advice that she still holds close to her heart to this day. Johnny and Kate dated between 1994 and 1997. Depp's fans are now saying Amber pretty much completely ruined her own case by name-dropping Kate Moss, and they had a field day clowning her on Twitter. Another Twitter user pointed out that since Kate Moss has entered the chat, it means that now every past relationship of Amber's is also fair game. A fan of Depp's even uploaded a clip of the actor leaving the court after Heard's testimony and pointed out the obvious smile of satisfaction on his face. The makeup kit that never was. Amber's very first blunder happened way before her testimony. Before either of the stars even made it to the stand, actually. Fans viewing the televised trial were out in full force, ready to dissect everything as they seriously doubted an opening statement. Heard's attorney, Elaine Bredhoff, said the actress had used makeup to conceal her bruises throughout the course of her relationship with Depp. This is what Amber carried in her purse for the whole relationship with Johnny Depp, according to Bredhoff. She held a makeup palette aloft in the courtroom as she said this. In response to the statement, Milani Cosmetics released a video on TikTok, which stated that their Conceal and Perfect All-in-One Correcting Kit, which is the one Amber reportedly used to cover her bruises which were caused by domestic violence, and the same one her lawyer was holding, actually wasn't even in circulation during Heard and Depp's relationship. The correcting kit launched in December of 2017. Milani's caption on the video, which went viral and clocked up millions of views within hours, was also used as evidence of a mistruth across social media. Remember how the alleged abuse was around 2014 to 2016? From the looks of it, the two got divorced in 2016, and the palette was here in late 2017. But after that, a source close to Heard claimed that the lawyer's words were being interpreted wrongly. Bredhoff, however, did not claim that the specific brand or kit was the exact same one used by Amber. A user on the internet tweeted in response to the news that Milani Cosmetics literally went out of their way to prove Amber Heard lied in court about using their product to cover bruises because there's no way that happened, considering all the facts given. The dog incident. On the very first day of her testimony, May 4th, Heard recalled an instance when Depp allegedly held his dog out the window of a moving car and howled. According to her narrative, everyone in the car just froze then. No one did anything, according to her, as she took the stand, saying that she was too torn over what to do. She said she didn't want to cause the actor to react or drop the dog. The dog was a Yorkie called Boo. She described the incident as a chilling moment. She said she eventually got him to pull his arms and the dog back into the car. Since her testimony, video footage has been posted on TikTok in which she was seen smiling while holding a tiny dog by the open window of a moving vehicle. Obviously, this is not going to fly. Animal cruelty is absolutely unforgivable in the court of public opinion. A person on Twitter was seriously angered at this and tweeted that Amber Heard stated that Johnny was the one who held their dog out of a moving car window. So you could clearly see for yourself what the truth is. They also pointed out that if she could pin the blame on Johnny for something she did herself and lied about it so blatantly, who's to say she wasn't the perpetrator of the abuse she pinned on him herself? Whatever the results of the case, we know who's the winner in the court of public opinion. Johnny Depp, an insecure husband? Amber also claimed that Depp was so jealous and insecure that she'd have to avoid doing any scenes of a sexual nature for fear of upsetting him. She even claimed that she would have to bargain with him every time she received a script with such scenes. She further stated that Johnny's intense monitoring of her increased her awareness of how she was dressing, what kind of behavior she had, and of course, she had to see if there were any sex scenes in the film she took on. She further stated that this led to her keeping kissing scenes to a minimum, adding that she would also often change the wardrobe to tone things down. These changes in her lifestyle didn't happen all at once. It was so gradual that she didn't notice until it was too late. In response to these claims, a fan shared a video clip of Amber in the final dance scene of the 2015 movie Magic Mike XXL, in which she played Zoe, who was seen enjoying a pretty raunchy dance from Channing Tatum's titular lead, Michael Lane, which included him gyrating all over her during a performance. When promoting the movie at the time of its release, Heard was asked by Metro what it was like having Tatum all up in her face with his crotch, which led her to respond with, "I was brought in, we shot it, and it was a lot of fun. Even though it looked spontaneous, it's actually a very highly choreographed and practiced dance." So clearly, Johnny couldn't have been that upset over the whole thing. The self-contradictions in her case just keep piling up. Let's take a look at yet another mistake the Aquaman actress made in court. Heard as a musician. When she testified about one of the fights that she and Depp had allegedly gotten into, jurors were given a visual aid in the form of aftermath photos as per Insider. Now, as to the question of what was in those photos, in one, there were smashed windows. Another one featured a guitar, reportedly Depp's favorite guitar, with what looked like streaks of blood on it. In question, Amber denied that she played any instruments. After this, a fan shared a clip of her strumming a guitar and singing in a small clip her movie One More Time, which debuted on Starz Digital back in 2016. The case appears to be becoming not only extremely ridiculous, but also transparent at this point. It's become extremely difficult to trust any of the actress's claims. With reliable and consistent evidence coming in from Depp's side, and inconsistent and dramatized evidence from Heard's, anyone can see where matters are clearly headed. Amber has had too many of her claims disproven and challenged. It's hard to imagine her coming out of this with the settlement money. Anyway, hope you guys liked today's video. Bye for now.
Let's see if I can.
Sure, I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist. I am board certified in forensic psychology. I am the president-elect of the trauma division of the American Psychological Association. And I evaluated Amber Heard over 6 visits for approximately 29 hours.
And why are you here today?
But she's not a client.
To offer rebuttal testimony to Shannon Curry's testimony of yesterday.
She really hates Dr. Curry.
Dr. Curry said you used improper methods. Would you agree with that?
No, I would not.
Why? Please explain.
As I testified to you all several weeks ago, I used a standard forensic procedure that is well established in our field. It is a multi-method, multi-hypothesis-driven procedure where you're looking at a variety of different details and tests and external data to arrive at an opinion, and you're looking at the consistency across that data. There are three sort of sets of tests that we use as forensic psychologists, and I think that's where it seems that Dr. Curry seems confused. We have forensic assessment instruments. Those are instruments that are very neatly tied to a legal criteria. Those are most notably done in a criminal court for competency. If someone has competency to stand trial, we have very clear measures that can track that legal criteria. The next level are forensically relevant instruments. And those instruments are not linked to a specific legal criteria, but they do have information that's germane to that finding.
Okay.
And that can be an example of a risk assessment measure and a malingering measure. So the malingering measure that I utilized was the MFAST, and that was the only malingering measure in this case. The third category are clinical assessment instruments, and those are instruments that are validated and well-researched and used in the clinical realm as we understand people's symptomatology and diagnostic and functional capacities. Those are things like the MMPI, the PAI, the CAPS, the TSI, because they are clinically relevant and they still give us very valuable information to individuals who are involved in a court case. And the reason that we do that and we use these clinical measures is because the majority of the people that we see are in a clinical realm. They're not in a courtroom. So they're well-validated and well-researched methods. What we also do is use different types of tests within that category. We use some checklists, some face-valid checklists. We use some tests that are those broadband personality inventories. We use structured clinical interviews. And then we look for the consistency across those data points. And when we use different types of tests, it gives us information about the individual, how they go about these tests in these different modalities.
Now,
great.
Dr. Curry seemed to suggest that Amber Heard tested the most extreme category in all of these different tests. Is that accurate?
The most extreme. She didn't say that.
Overruled.
She didn't say that.
That is not accurate. They were not on the checklist. I mean, people sometimes do. They go, all the time, this happens to me all the time, frequently. And that is not how she endorsed these tests. She endorsed them in a very moderate way, in a very nuanced way, describing her symptoms that I determined was accurate and reliable.
I got 20.
Dr. Curry also suggested that
Amber
Heard was tested very, very high, 98th percentile, I think, on malingering and feigning. Could you speak to that, please?
Sure. So, I mean, she said a lot of things, so let's go through those tests. The first was the PAI, and that's that other broadband psychological
Objection,
measure.
non-responsive.
I think it's very responsive.
Okay.
Could you tell the
Ticking
jury
down the
about
time.
the PAI test that Dr. Curry
Yes.
addressed?
Yes.
Is he there? He's
ready.
ready.
So that's the broadband measure that has validity scales built into it that gives us indications about how the individual goes about the test. I told you last time that there was no evidence of malingering or exaggeration or feigning on that test. What Dr. Curry was talking about was this tendency to put your best foot forward to minimize faults on this PAI.
Of course.
That scale was right at the cusp. And then there are two other measures that we look at that to say, you know, is this enough for an elevation for me to consider that as a serious response distortion, of which Dr. Curry was saying, and it was not. What was relevant on this test was there were elevations on anxiety, on affective anxiety, meaning anxiety, tension, worry, on traumatic stress, on hyperactivity, and on affective instability. Those were the four scales that were elevated on this test. The borderline scale was not elevated on this test. And this test...
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
I'm so, like, I am just so ready to see that guy absolutely fucking, like, destroy her. Because I am so sick of seeing that bitch. I am. For her to go up there and fucking categorize all violence with genders. I hate this bitch. I want her off the screen. And she's just, and I'm not sorry. Like, I don't call people that all the time. But with her, absolutely. Fucking absolutely. She's an absolute piece of shit. And there's no way. She's just going up there. The only reason she's going up there is because she is trying to save her credibility because she got made to look like a fucking clown. That's what it is. That's why she's up there. She's not even up there for Amber. She's up there for herself because everybody that's out there, everybody in the whole world saw how much of an obvious fucking fraud she is. And that's why she's not even talking about Amber. She's talking about how she administered her tests. She shouldn't even be here.
Dr. Curry, let's move to the TSI-2. Dr. Curry testified about your findings on that. Did you agree with her testimony yesterday?
No, again.
Please describe why. Explain why.
What Dr. Curry went back to, which is this 98th percentile, which I told you in the manual. All you have to do is read the manual. It says specifically that we do not use the percentile ranks for this test. That indicates to me that, Dr. Curry does not know the psychometric properties of this test, and then she then is therefore not qualified to interpret it. That score, the one that's elevated, she's talking about that percentile rank, has a raw score. Amber's raw score is a 10. The cutoff score is a 15. She's nowhere near that level of exaggerated symptoms where I can't further look at that test. Secondly, there are 3 scales out of maybe there's about 20, a little more on the TSI that were elevated. Intrusive experiences, that's when thoughts and memories of the trauma come into your mind when you don't want them. Defensive avoidance, sort of behavioral ways that we try to push out those memories and not think about them. And then relational avoidance, a way of having difficulty in interpersonal relationships. Those are all trauma-based symptoms, and those were elevated on this test.
Thank you. Dr. Hughes, the MFAS, Dr. Curry addressed that as well and had criticisms for your interpretations. Do you agree with that?
No.
Please explain to the
So the MFAS, as I told you last time, is a measure of malingering. It's the only measure of malingering that was done in this case. Dr. Curry did not independently administer measure malingering, and there are other ones that she could have done to augment her evaluation. And she kept saying something that MFAS is not for
1 hour, by the way.
PTSD. That's wrong on a couple of levels. People who are going to malinger and feign don't only feign one diagnosis. They sometimes talk about all different symptoms that they have, and they exaggerate and they make themselves seem much worse than they are. So when you're doing an evaluation, you're giving a malingering measure to get a sense of how this person is responding to this evaluation. Now, what you do is you take those 3 tests that I talked to you about, the PAI, the TSI, and the MFAS, all with valid validity scales, you have greater confidence in your results. And that is in the literature, and that's literature that Dr. Curry cited in her report. That bolsters the methodology that I used. That in the study that had the PAI, the MFAS, and the TSI in the title of detecting feigned from bona fide PTSD.
It's got nothing to do with Amber.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Curry also talked about the danger.
Literally nothing to do with
it.
her.
Suggested that you had inappropriately interpreted that. Do you agree?
That's also incorrect.
Please describe for the jury.
Which I told you last time, the danger assessment scale has statistically validated risk factors for serious or lethal domestic violence. Those risk factors exist whether we go forward, we're sitting with someone in an acute setting and assessing them right now, or if we look backward and we look retrospectively about what factors may have been present in the case that indicated severity. That instrument is used in what we call, there's called domestic fatality review boards. Those are boards after somebody has been killed, a homicide has occurred in a domestic situation. They look at these risk factors to see what was there and what could be done.
Dr. Curry also criticized your administering of the CAPS 5. Do you agree with her criticism?
I do not.
Okay, of course not.
So the CAPS 5, as you all have heard multiple times, is a structured clinical interview in determining PTSD according to DSM-5 criteria.
Okay.
On this measure, Amber Heard scored in a moderate range. She did not over-exaggerate on this test. She could have said no, mild, moderate, severe, and extreme. All of hers were either 2s or 1s or 0s. None above that. So she's scoring in the moderate range, which still has functional impairments. I mean, we don't want someone to be having moderate PTSD, but that's not an exaggerated profile or exaggerated response style of someone who's answering an instrument.
And the last of these Dr. Curry referred to was the PCL-5.
So that means she doesn't have PTSD?
Do you agree
like,
with her criticisms of your administration and interpretation of that?
Wait, what?
No, so the PCL-5 is a checklist of symptoms of PTSD. It is, as she said, it is a face valid instrument. It seems it's very clear about how you can endorse this. But what the person has to do is say, how disturbed am I by these symptoms? And when you have face valid measures with these other measures that have the built-in sort of ability scales, you're sort of controlling for that response bias error. You're controlling for that individual to sort of over-exaggerate. But then what you do with that test, because this is, we're not just administering them like robots, is you go and you do a clinical assessment. And that's what I did. Right. I took what she wrote, what she endorsed on that test in January of 2021, and I did a clinical assessment of those symptoms to see if they meet criteria for PTSD. That is something we do clinically, and I do in my office all the time. And yes, she did meet PTSD from that in January 2021.
But
thank you.
They
now,
said that
Dr. Curry said you misinterpreted her test results. Do you agree with that?
On some mages.
I agree that I agree that I interpreted them, that she misinterpreted them.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So I said that before.
Okay.
My stance on the MMPI and how she interpreted it.
That's real cute.
Is, I believe wrong, and I think
Objection, Your Honor. That's the issue we just addressed.
I don't think you want to.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. So yeah, anyway, well then what about the fact that so whenever she tested her for PTSD, what Dr. Curry said is that she didn't test and control for the PTSD, being an outcome or a factor of her experiences with Johnny Depp or her experiences as a kid. So what Dr. Curry said is she should have done 2 tests. So the PTSD assessment could still be accurate, but not
Dr.
according
Hughes,
to what happened
Curry
with
also
Johnny.
Testified that a victim of PTSD has to effectively be prone and unable to function at all. Would you agree with that?
Nobody said that.
Objection misstates the evidence.
She said they couldn't hike, they couldn't move, they couldn't function in any way, shape, or form. Thank you.
No, that is not correct. That is often actually a myth and misconception about individuals who are struggling with PTSD or trauma-based disorders, and I'm often called to answer that and speak to that. People who are struggling with trauma and PTSD are very strong, courageous, resilient people, even though that they're struggling. They get up, they have to go to work and drop their kid off at school and go to the market, even though they're struggling with these symptoms. So I often talk about it as sort of walking around with a 50-pound bag of flour on their backs, just sort of trying to get through the day, where sometimes that button's going to press play and the trauma's going to start activating in their head, and then they're going to be having to think about it and have startle and have physiological reactions until they can find a way to hit that pause and shut it off again. So they still have, impairments in other ways, but they go about their lives. They're not
everything she's
totally
saying could be accurate right now.
If you have someone in that high range, the highest score is an 80 on the CAPS. Ms. Heard had a 28. If you have someone in the higher range, we have seen people who are, severely disabled because of it, but that's not the norm of people who have this moderate PTSD.
I'll explain why.
And did you find functional impairment with Amber?
Yes, I did.
Now, Dr. Curry also said that it is not within the scope of a psychologist to evaluate domestic violence. Do you agree with that?
Of course I don't agree with that. This is what I do for a living, day in, day out, for 25 years. We are specifically trained to understand the profound impact that trauma has on people's lives. That's what we do in the trauma division of the American Psychological Association. We disseminate that knowledge. And domestic violence is one of those profound traumas. Domestic violence is part of state licensing boards that you can't get licensed in some states unless you take training on domestic violence. You can't renew your license unless you get training on domestic violence. So people who have, specialized training in this area, it is, beholden upon them to accurately assess for intimate partner violence and sexual violence. And it's more important to assess for the sort of scientific understanding of what domestic violence is. So you have to assess for the physical violence, the psychological violence, the surveillance, the economic, the emotional abuse,
and
the sexual violence. That is not gratuitous.
Objection.
That is understanding.
Narrative.
All right.
It's not a narrative. This is a book.
Now, Dr. Curry suggested that you made a determination just based on personal opinion and just on checklists and a couple of tests that you misinterpreted. Would you agree with that?
I vehemently disagree with that. As I stated to you, over 29 hours and 12 psychological tests and reviewing a slew of documents in this case, most importantly, therapy records and interviews, collateral interviews with therapists. Using all that data, that is what a solid forensic methodological exam looks like. And then I made my conclusions based on my clinical education, knowledge, and training to come up with a professional expert opinion.
Professional expert opinion.
And just to remind,
Relying on
to make sure
authority.
we're reminded here, you were qualified in this court, in this case, as an expert in forensic psychology, specifically in domestic violence and in no, I just lost it. And
It's
in violence,
contagious.
correct? Intimate and in trauma, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, misstates the record.
Yeah, if you want to ask the question again.
Yeah, it's contagious.
Yeah, I probably should do that. You were qualified. I gotta find my note. You were qualified as an expert in forensic psychology with a specialty in domestic violence and in trauma, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that was in this case?
That's correct.
Okay. Now,
Where
do
do you
you
at?
still hold the same opinions you did that you gave the jury earlier?
Yes, I do.
And do you still hold them within a reasonable degree of psychological probability and certainty?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
All right, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor, but can we approach quickly?
Oh boy. So it's just like the entire thing is fundamentally flawed because all of the entire
Where's your
thing
body?
was like pretty much hinged on the diagnosis of PTSD, right? But the diagnosis of PTSD was done without a control for the PTSD being an outcome of her childhood experiences. So everything else that's built off of that foundation is fundamentally flawed. PTSD. Well, listen, I got verbal dyslexia. You're gonna have to get used to it. That's all there is to it. So yeah, it's just it makes no fucking sense. Yeah, and on top of that, her being an expert in domestic violence does not necessarily mean that she is an expert at determining if domestic violence occurred. She is only an expert in the context of treating people who say they have experienced it, not determining its authenticity. Like it's intentionally misleading.
Of course it is. Everything they do is that.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
Good morning, Dr. Hughes.
Good morning, Mr. Dennison.
The last time you were here, I believe that you testified that you had diagnosed Ms. Hurd with PTSD before you gave the gold standard CAPS-5 test.
That's correct.
Wow.
And
That's how good she is.
diagnosis is actually reflected in the first of the disclosures you put forward in this case.
I believe the first disclosure was February 2021, and at that point I had done 11 psychological tests. That's correct.
And your disclosure reads, Ms. Hurd's responses on the PCL-5 support a DSM-5 diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder with an etiology of intimate partner violence she experienced by a former partner. Remember writing that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just testified that you need to read the manual, right?
Yes.
Uh-oh. It's going to be how...
Can we put up 1311 as a demonstrative?
It's about how she didn't fill everything out. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, remember that? How she didn't fill out anything? It's in the manual. Yep, let's go. I think that this woman...
Objection to 1311. You want to leave?
I think that the reason why this woman hates Dr. Curry, I actually don't think that it has
Why did you
anything
not just
to
grab
do
it?
with the fact that like
Idiot.
Dr. Curry said her testimony was wrong or anything like that. I think the only reason why she's so upset about this and so pressed about it is because the judge accidentally called her Dr. Curry twice. I think this is just a complete fucking ego thing. Remember that? Yeah, do you remember that? That's why she's there. And yeah, that's what it is. It's got nothing to do with this fucking case. Nothing about not the judge, the lawyer. Elaine did it too. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I thought that. Oh, so it was the judge once and then her afterwards. Okay. Oh my god. I thought the judge said it once and then Elaine said it once. Here we go.
They're getting the
Elaine
right one.
said it twice. Oh, excuse me.
Let's use 1312.
1312. Okay. And that. Any objection to that demonstrative? No. Okay. 1312 can be published to the jury.
Dr. Hughes, do you recognize what the National Center for...
Get out the book.
What it is? Yes, I do.
And they published the PTSD checklist for DSM-5.
That's correct.
That what we've been calling the PCL-5.
Correct.
All right. And do you, are you familiar with the document that's on your screen?
Yes.
All right. What is it?
It's the instruction manual to how to administer the PCL-5.
All right. Yep. That's what it seems like.
I'd like to move for the admission of 1312.
Any objection to 1312 coming into evidence? All right, 1312 in evidence.
All right. Can we go to the second page?
Already almost 11. Boo.
I know, I feel like
Can we blow up the second paragraph on the right?
I found a bunch of walks.
That's the left. Yeah.
The PCL-5 should not be used as a standalone diagnostic tool. When considering a diagnosis, the clinician will still need to use clinical interviewing skills and a recommended structured interview, e.g., the CAPS-5, to determine a diagnosis, correct?
Okay.
That's what the manual says.
Right, and this manual also says that this is a screening instrument, so when you do the clinical interviewing, you absolutely can determine diagnosis.
So the
after
answer is
somebody
yes. The manual says
still need to use clinical
PCL-5.
interviewing skills, which I used.
Let me finish my question.
Uh-huh.
The PCL-5 should not be used as a standalone diagnostic tool, and they recommend
I'm gonna
using
go
the
with that
CAPS-5
I'm
to
tired.
determine a diagnosis, correct?
Oh, wow.
It does say that, yes.
Yeah, and you made your diagnosis before you did the CAPS-5.
I made my diagnosis doing clinical interviewing and 11 other psychological tests that supported diagnosis of PTSD and symptomatology consistent with PTSD.
Okay.
Work at
You
A.
said that we should read the manual. Would you also
Sucks.
agree with me that we need to read the directions on these tests?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, God. Okay, here we go. Yep.
Tom, can you pull up 1309?
Okay, all right. That's my favorite thing, is where they ask a question that's obviously leading like that, they say, okay, and then they ask to pull up an evidence. That is my favorite part of this whole thing. Holy shit. All right, let's go.
Yes, sir.
Boy. Let's go at this point. Yeah, he's going to make her probably read it. Okay.
Any objection to
Here we go.
1309 is demonstrative?
I bet, yeah. The okay to every witness? Yeah, exactly. Anti-wizard undefeated. Well, it's just that, like, I mean, especially with her, I mean, she's the easiest one to discredit. I feel like she's obviously just like a complete fucking clown, man. Like, she's on there explaining this stuff, and like, she didn't even fill out most of the forms and stuff like this that she had said. And then also, like, I find this to be very odd that the interpretations can be so wildly different. You know what I mean?
Doctor, do you recognize the demonstrative that's in front of you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, but I didn't put the red lines on that.
No, I didn't.
Yes, I know.
Okay. So, this, what do you recognize this as?
I recognize that we previously discussed this, and I told you that I oriented Ms. Hurd to a different time frame because she was already out of the relationship.
Okay, maybe we should back it up a little. This is the CTS-2 that you administered as part of this battery of tests that you indicate you you did in relationship to your diagnosis.
Right, this is the conflict tactic scale too.
Okay.
And you'll agree with me that this
Wait, I thought she wasn't a client.
specifically asks, in front of every single question, how often did this happen in the past year?
Correct, and I
Right.
oriented
And
the
you
individual
know-
to not limit herself to the
Correct.
last year to get an accurate assessment of the violence and abuse that she experienced in the
Okay,
relationship.
I-
Intentionally
Those
do it
strike.
wrong.
All right. I'll move to strike the last part of the answer. Strike the last part of the answer. Thank
Just
you.
move to strike. Okay.
Next question.
Yeah. And you know that at the time that you gave this test to Ms. Heard, she had been away from Mr. Depp for far longer than a year, correct?
Which is why I oriented her to a different
Yes or no,
time
ma'am?
frame in
Orienting
answering
her.
the question.
Doctor, yes or no?
Of course,
Okay, you knew she was gone for more than a year.
of course.
All right. Let's look at another one of these.
It's so obvious,
You
man.
talked about the danger assessment test.
That's correct.
All right.
The smart. Who knows? It's like for some people, she might think she's winning now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe she thinks she's winning.
Plaintiff's 1310.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it could be. That could be it. So I can't believe I'm
Any
winning so
objection to
hard.
1310 as demonstrative. Okay. We publish to the jury.
Danger assessment.
Dr. Hughes, this is a blank form, but this is the danger assessment test that you also gave to Ms. Heard, correct?
I didn't give it to her, I filled it out based on the data that was provided to me.
Oh, so you asked her the questions and you filled it in.
It was somewhat collaborative.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we blow up the second full paragraph? It says, using the calendar, please mark the approximate dates during the past year when you were abused by your partner or ex-partner. You didn't use any calendar, did you?
No.
I did not use a calendar because she was already out of the relationship. As I said, these are static risk factors, so they don't change. So I oriented her to the time of the relationship.
Ma'am, it's fair to say that this examination that you gave specifically indicates that you were supposed to look over the past year, and that's not the language?
No, that's one administration. People use this instrument for if you're in an acute situation in a relationship, trying to get a better assessment of the current behaviors. We can use it retrospectively, like I just stated, and in homicides and looking back about what are the serious risk factors that were in this relationship.
I didn't ask you about anything other than, don't the instructions limit this test to the previous year?
You can give this test not only on the previous year.
Asking you about the instructions.
But I'm telling you how the test is administered in clinical practice and in forensic practice.
And opposing counsel can come up and ask questions about it. I'm asking you about the instructions.
Yeah.
And the instructions say, look over the past year.
Yeah, on this, yes, it says that.
And
She
you had
thought she
actual
could beat the
knowledge
Wizard
that you gave
Destroyer.
the test that Mr. Depp was gone way more than a year before this test.
She thought she could beat him.
All right, let's look at more instructions. Can we look at 1287,
Audacity.
which is already
The
announced?
veil of steel.
Actually thought she could beat the Wizard. Or the Wizard Destroyer. Oh my god.
Holy shit.
Holy shit, man.
Dr. Hughes, you recognize this one too, right?
Yes,
All right, this is what everybody calls the CAPS 5.
correct.
All right, can we go to the first page? Let's blow up the instructions.
Okay. Let's see it.
Standard administration and scoring of the CAPS 5 are essential for producing reliable and valid scores and diagnostic decisions. Correct?
Correct.
And you know you have to do this in a standardized way because it is the first instruction. correct?
Correct.
Uh-huh.
And we go to the next page.
Our career's literally over. Yeah,
Okay.
isn't it great?
That's good. This is a page on scoring, and we talked about this last time.
Yes.
You score these tests by frequency and intensity.
Correct.
And you'll remember that in every single instance that you were asked to fill in the blank about frequency, you failed to do so, correct?
That's not correct.
No.
Oh, you filled in any blank on this form with respect to frequency?
I filled in the frequency on the side of the caps where I am actually scoring the caps.
No, I asked you whether you filled in a single blank on this form with respect to frequency. Is the answer to that yes or no?
I don't know what you mean, a single blank.
All right, let's page.
She actually
Let's keep
thought
going.
she was going to get away.
All right.
She thought she was going to
We'll
get
stay
away.
This page for a second. This
Oh,
is the
no.
very first box you're asked to fill in as to, I think, a fairly fundamental question, right? What happened?
Yeah.
We talked about this before, Mr. Dennison. I had 88 pages of notes of what happened. It would have been redundant to put it there.
You know that you are obligated to produce this test in a way that other people can meaningfully review them. Yes?
The people in this
Yes.
case who are meaningfully reviewing them have my 88 pages of notes.
All right, but you chose to put absolutely nothing in the box, the standardized box, that said what happened.
Yeah.
You don't have to put it in the box if you have it somewhere else. It's not a,
Because this
if
is
it's
not
not
a standardized test?
Well, if it's not a research instrument that is used for research, if you're using it for a clinical diagnostic purpose, no, you don't. If you have that data elsewhere.
Okay, let's go another page or so.
Okay, yeah, so there we go. All right.
Let's go another way. All right, let's look at item 4B4. And I asked you, you filled in the blank about frequency. And there's a blank in many of these items that asks number of times.
Uh-huh.
You didn't fill a single one of them in, did you?
Right, because I filled them on the right side of the instrument where I am scoring it.
And that is the way that you believe that you followed the instructions of a standardized test.
Yes, correct.
No further questions.
All right, redirect.
Okay. Yep, there it is. Yeah, I had the correct answer. It just was on a different question, guys. That's all.
Static risk factors are risk factors that don't change.
She's
maybe,
not happy.
If you smoke cigarettes,
Yep.
you may have a risk of lung cancer, right? That's a factor that doesn't change.
She's
You can
moving
look
her hands
forward if
around.
Someone smoking, you can
Oh,
look
yeah.
fast if someone's smoking. So these lethality risk factors are present whether you're evaluating them in the last year or 5 years ago.
And when you're trying to assess for trauma related to the interpersonal violence that we discussed, why is it important to get a time frame in which the relationship was in existence?
Well, you want to see the amount of trauma that the person experienced. The longer that they're in a relationship, you have more successive trauma. And one of the things that we know from the research is more trauma is not better. So the more successive traumas that you have, the greater likelihood that somebody's going to
such a
have
weird item to
psychological
get to.
consequences and symptomatology as a result.
Okay.
And therefore, you need to get it within the relationship.
Objection leading.
And so how does that relate to needing to get the time frame in the relationship?
Well, you need to understand when you're trying to evaluate the impact of something, you have to understand what happened to the person, and that's sort of the core and the basis of trauma-informed care and of trauma diagnoses. You have to understand, the traumatic event and how it transpired and how it played out for that individual, so that you can better assess for the symptomatology that's falling from it.
You said you had 88 pages of notes. What were in your 88? And without going into the specifics, can you just describe what was included in the 88 pages of notes.
All right, let's see it.
In the 88 pages were many of the
Running out of
documented
time.
incidents of intimate partner.
Objection, Your Honor.
She's just describing it. That came up. He said you didn't fill those in the boxes. She said it was in my 88 pages. I'm just saying what was in your 88 pages. I'm not asking her to give each of the specific events. She
It's
can
ticking
describe
down.
the summary of it.
TikTok, let's
Can
go.
we come up?
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Look how mad she is, bro. Like, oh my god. And this guy, I feel like he's one of those people that the more annoyed and angry the people are around him, the happier he is. It's like the more pissed off the person is, he's like, yeah, let's go on up there again. Why don't we just go ahead and explain things? I don't know what's going on. Yep.
What is the difference between clinical scoring and clinical evaluation and research evaluation with respect to the CAPS-5 and the other tests?
Action compound.
Sustained.
Your Honor, when it's compounded, it's because it might be confusing to the jury.
Uh-huh.
Sustained. Next question.
Okay. Can you
Sustained.
explain to the jury
Next.
what the difference
Nope.
is between clinical scoring and evaluation on a test and research?
Objection, Your Honor. Compound.
Overruled.
Sure, so the PCL and the CAPS-5 are frequently used in research. And when they're used in research, that means the document stands alone. They don't
All right,
have
that's-
88 pages of notes to help understand the
gonna do it for
background
me.
of the trauma and what the person has experienced.
Thank you all for hanging out, for follows, for likes, for shares, for all the above. Wish I was more excited, but I am so tired. Good night, everybody.